Welcome to Blood Runs Cold. Tonight I'll share 3 terrifying true stories sent by real people. These aren't made-up tales. These are moments that actually happened, moments that still haunt the people who lived them. So, make sure you're somewhere safe because things are about to get very unsettling. And remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones that come when you least expect them. Alex worked alone at a small, almost forgotten gas station on the outskirts of town, the kind of place people passed by without a second thought. The building itself was old, paint peeling from the edges, a flickering neon open sign buzzing faintly, and the smell of gasoline mixing with cold metal and the faint remnants of last night's coffee. It was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, the streets empty, the world outside silent except for the occasional hum of a car passing by far off in the distance. Alex had worked here for nearly 3 months and had gotten used to the quiet, the isolation. But that night, something felt off almost immediately. The fluorescent lights above buzzed inconsistently, casting strange, flickering shadows across the aisles. Alex stocked shelves, straightened cans of soda, and wiped the counters with a rag that had seen better days. It was routine, safe, until the first sign appeared, a faint, irregular clicking from the cash register. The drawer wasn't opening. Nothing had triggered it, but it clicked anyway. Alex shrugged, probably just the old wiring acting up. Nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. Or so they hoped. Hours passed, the silence only punctuated by the occasional beep from the soda machine or the faraway hum of traffic. Alex moved about the store, but the sense of being watched grew heavier. Every time they turned a corner, shadows seemed to stretch differently, just out of the corner of their eye. Then came the doorbell, a sharp, clear chime. At first, Alex assumed a customer. A tired smile crossed their face, thinking at least someone would break the monotony. They glanced at the security monitors. Nothing. Empty parking lot. No car, no person, no explanation. Probably just a glitch, Alex whispered to themselves. But deep down, their stomach churned. Minutes later, while checking inventory in the back room, the lights flickered violently. The buzzing from the fluorescent tubes grew louder, almost a low moan. Alex froze. From the corner of the room, something shifted. Just a shadow, flickering on the wall, nothing more. Or was it moving closer? Alex returned to the counter, heart thumping. That's when they saw it, a dark, featureless silhouette standing motionless near the soda aisle. No face, no hands, just presence. "Hello," Alex called out, voice trembling. The shadow did not move. No blink, no reaction. Every instinct screamed to flee, but curiosity held Alex frozen. Slowly, they inched closer. Each step echoed in the empty store. The shadow remained still, yet somehow felt heavier with each step. Alex grabbed a flashlight from under the counter, trained the beam on the figure. Nothing. The flashlight revealed empty air, yet the sense of presence did not leave. And then, the shadow dissolved, as if it had never been there. But Alex knew better. Something had been there, something that shouldn't exist in the quiet, ordinary world. Shaken, Alex checked the surveillance cameras. That's when they saw it. A pale hand pressing against the window, long, unnaturally thin fingers, with nails too long to be human. The hand stayed pressed there for a long moment, then disappeared. Alex's voice trembled as they muttered, "No, this can't be real." They reviewed the footage frame by frame. The parking lot was empty. No one approached, no footprints, no car, nothing. The air inside the store had turned cold, icy, biting through their sweater. Alex could feel the hair on their arms stand on end. Every instinct screamed danger, but the rational mind fought. Maybe a prank, maybe a glitch, maybe nothing. And then came the sound, faint, almost imperceptible. A soft scraping from the corner of the store, like nails dragging across the concrete. Alex's eyes darted. Nothing. Silence. Only the persistent heavy feeling that someone, or something, was still there, watching. Alex reached for the phone to call a friend, fingers shaking. The dial tone hummed in the quiet. No line. Then the lights went out entirely. Darkness swallowed the store, and the hum of the fluorescent lights ceased. From the shadows, a low, almost human whisper echoed. "You shouldn't be here." Alex spun around, flashlight trembling in hand. The beam caught. Nothing. But then the hand appeared again, pressed on the window from the outside, followed by a shadow stretching across the floor. Inside. Every instinct screamed to run. Alex bolted, stumbled over the counter, grabbed keys, and ran to their car. The shadow followed. Not outside, but in the reflection of the glass, moving impossibly fast. Heart pounding, Alex drove away, never looking back. The neon open sign flickered once, then went dark. Alex never returned to that gas station. Rumors spread among co-workers, sightings of a dark figure near the pumps at night, lights flickering, doors opening on their own. Some claimed it followed people home. Alex moved to another town. But even months later, when walking alone at night, they could feel a presence lingering behind them. A reminder that some encounters never truly end. Something watches in the darkness, waiting, patient, always patient. A group of 5 friends decided to spend a weekend camping deep in the forests of Oregon. It was the kind of forest where sunlight barely reached the forest floor, where the trees were thick and ancient, and the air always smelled faintly of moss and decay. The friends were excited, a chance to escape the city, to laugh and relax by a campfire, away from the world. There was Mark, the adventurous one, Jenna, cautious but curious, Lisa, full of energy, Tom, always joking, and Alex, the quiet observer. They hiked for hours, packs heavy on their shoulders, until they found a clearing that seemed perfect. Flat ground, surrounded by tall, looming trees. They set up tents, gathered wood for a fire, and the first night seemed perfect. The crackle of fire, the smell of roasting marshmallows, laughter echoing through the trees. But as darkness fell, the forest's mood changed. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, and a cold breeze swept through the clearing. Something unseen seemed to be watching them. Later that night, Mark went for a short walk to gather firewood. The others stayed near the fire, chatting quietly. Minutes passed, then half an hour. Mark hadn't returned. "He's probably just exploring," Jenna said nervously, trying to calm her growing unease. "Maybe," Lisa replied, but her eyes scanned the dark tree line. The forest seemed alive, whispering among itself. Suddenly, Lisa noticed strange symbols carved into the nearest tree, jagged lines, circles, patterns that made no sense. She pointed them out to the others. At first, they laughed. A prank left by another group, surely. But deep down, none of them felt reassured. The fire flickered, and in that brief darkness, something moved just beyond the light's edge. A branch snapped, a low rustle, but no one was there. An hour later, panic began to set in. Mark still hadn't returned. They called out, their voices swallowed by the trees. Tom, usually confident, was pale and quiet. "We should go find him," Jenna whispered. They grabbed flashlights and ventured into the woods. Every shadow seemed to twitch. Every rustle of leaves made their hearts pound faster. They stumbled upon his footprints, and then they disappeared. The ground was soft and muddy, yet there were no signs of struggle. Just nothing. They returned to the clearing, searching for the tent. That's when they noticed the symbols again, now glowing faintly in the moonlight, etched deeper into the bark than before. Something wasn't right. The forest was too quiet, too still, and Mark, he was gone. Desperate, they combed the forest, calling his name, shining flashlights in every direction. The wind seemed to carry whispers, fragments of voices that weren't theirs. Lisa's flashlight caught movement in the corner of her eye, a figure standing between the trees, pale and silent. When she blinked, it was gone. Every path seemed to twist and turn unnaturally. Trees that should have been familiar now looked alien, like the forest itself had changed. Finally, they returned to Mark's tent, empty, the sleeping bag neatly folded, the gear untouched. But the tent walls, covered in the same symbols, deeper and more intricate than before, almost like they had been carved by something that didn't belong in the natural world. Suddenly, a low, guttural sound echoed through the clearing. The friends froze, hearts racing. It wasn't animal, not human. Something else. Jenna felt cold hands brush her arm. She spun around, nothing. Tom saw a shadow detach itself from the trees, moving toward the tent. They ran, tripping over roots and rocks, the forest twisting around them. When they reached the edge of the clearing, the moonlight revealed something impossible. Footprints leading directly into a tree trunk. Solid bark. Yet something had walked through it. They didn't stop running until they reached the parking area, panting, soaked in sweat. And when they dared look back, the forest was still, silent, empty. But the unease lingered, heavier than the night itself. Weeks later, the authorities searched the forest. No sign of Mark, no clues, no tracks. The glowing symbols were gone. The forest returned to its normal, indifferent state. The friends never returned. Each of them avoided forests entirely, haunted by the memory of the impossible. And some nights, when the wind is right, Jenna says she can still hear whispers in the trees, calling her back to the place where Mark vanished, to the forest that watches and waits for those who wander too far. Sarah had just finished a late shift at the diner. It was past midnight and the city streets were empty. Streetlights flickered intermittently, casting long, uneven shadows across the cracked sidewalks. She had walked this route countless times before, a shortcut through a narrow alley. But tonight, it felt different. She tightened the scarf around her neck and tucked her phone into her pocket. The alley was dim, lined with old brick buildings, garbage cans stacked haphazardly, and the faint smell of decay lingering in the air. Normally, Sarah would have felt safe enough. But tonight, there was a tension in the air, a weight pressing down that made her heartbeat quicken before she even entered the alley. As she walked, the alley seemed longer than usual. Her footsteps echoed, oddly amplified. Every shadow seemed to twitch and stretch unnaturally in the dim light. Then she noticed him, a man leaning casually against the wall near the alley's entrance. At first, his smile seemed friendly, harmless, but something about his presence was off. Sarah's pulse quickened. She picked up her pace. So did he. Every time she slowed, he slowed. Every time she hurried, he mirrored her steps exactly, keeping the same distance behind her. Maybe he's just walking home, she muttered to herself, though the explanation felt hollow. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong. Sarah tried calling a friend, but the call wouldn't connect. Her fingers trembled as she dialed again. Nothing. The alley seemed to stretch endlessly. Familiar turns felt unfamiliar. A trash can tipped over with a loud crash. Sarah froze. The man was closer now, his smile unwavering, unnaturally wide. She tried to break into a run, heart pounding in her chest. Each step she took, he matched perfectly, never too fast, never too slow. It was like he could predict her every move. Panic consumed her. Every instinct screamed to escape, yet the alley seemed alive, reshaping itself, trapping her within its walls. She couldn't tell where the end was. Sarah's mind raced. Why is he doing this? Who is he? Why me? She considered ducking into a side passage, but they all led to dead ends. She felt trapped. Every shadow, every sound, a whisper, a clatter, a creak, amplified her fear. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The man's presence seemed to press against her back, though she dared not look. Her legs burned from the effort of running, but every step brought him closer. Or at least it felt that way. She wished she had taken the long route home. She wished she had stayed at the diner. Every choice seemed wrong. Every moment stretched into eternity. Finally, she reached the mouth of the alley, the main street visible ahead. She dared to glance behind her, and the alley was empty. No man, no shadow, nothing. Relief surged until her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message read, "See you tonight." Her stomach dropped. The alley was empty, yet somehow the threat lingered. Some things don't need to be seen to be real. Some presences follow silently, waiting for the next moment to strike. Sarah never walked that alley again. She avoided shortcuts entirely, sticking to well-lit, busy streets. But even months later, she felt that same weight, a presence just behind her in the dark. Sometimes, late at night, she imagines the smile she saw, and the text flashes across her mind. "See you tonight." And she knows, deep down, some things don't need an alley to find you. Some things always follow. Those were just 3 of the terrifying stories shared by real people. Do you have a story that could send chills down someone's spine? Share it in the comments. And if you want more stories like these, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join me for the next unsettling night. Sleep tight.